Starting. We are live and we are in our holiday spirit, huh, Steve?
Yes, we are, but no doubt.
Wait, I got to stop laughing. Let me click on you to make sure everybody can see you.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure all the NosillaCastaways are warm with this nice little fire in my belly.
Okay, that's very weird. What is that white bar on the top of it? The cat isn't sure either.
Oh, that's a notification.
Oh, okay, there you go. Well, nope.
I can't get rid of the notification.
Hey, it looks like old Steve has gotten into the Christmas eggnog a little bit early, doesn't it?
A little bit.
John says Steve's got it. Fire in the belly. Oh, Brett says Steve is on fire.
Yeah.
All right. And he put up my Christmas tree here for me, but we really got to see Tessa.
Oh, yeah.
Tessa?
Where is she? Come on, Tess.
Come here, Tess. Tessa. Get her to come in here. We're actually going to move the camera for this. Oh, there you go. Oh, get the mic out of the way.
Shake it. Shake.
Oh, Tessa.
Shake.
There you go, sweetie pie.
Tessa, can you shake?
Oh, this is good video. There
you go.
Good That's shake, what we're looking for. She is all dressed up and ready to party. Not everybody has a dog wearing a bell. Should I leave it on all through the episode? See if she makes noise the whole time. Ow! Oh, man, I just bumped my knee.
Okay.
Ow. Ow. Okay. Everybody needs to be on duty on the chapters. Okay. Oh, George is in here. Oh, we haven't even done roll call.
Roll call.
Steve and Brett and Kevin and Dan and George. Wait, George is going by his name, George? That must be somebody else.
Yeah, someone's impersonating George.
Possibly Gino, Troy, and Joe. And we've got John and Sandy. Where's Rose?
I don't know. I don't see her.
Got to find out where she is. All right. I'm going to do a little test recording here. I am excited about the show today. I'm so excited. It's going to be really fun.
And Ian. Ian snuck in.
And Ian snuck in? All right. Well, Dan shouldn't be far behind. You need something. Oh, nice. All right. Let me do a little test recording here. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. All right. Let's make sure you can hear that. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. Is that loud enough?
Yeah. Sounds just like your live voice.
Okay.
Rose, she made it.
There she is. Rose likes to make the grand entrance, right?
Yeah.
All right. So we got to do chapter markers because things are getting really exciting on the chapter marker issue. It is really, I'm hearing a lot of little cracks.
Oh, that's probably my fire.
No, it isn't.
It's on pretty loud. Let me mute, see if it changes.
No, it's me.
Ready, mute.
All right, let me try it again. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. Just so you think, no, you're not muted.
Oh.
Not even close.
How about this?
There we go. All right. Oh, Sandy read today's blog post about the chapters. Was that, so there have been 3 posts this week on the topic, and there were 2 before. So this is actually a 5-part episode. You know, I have a feeling, Steve, you're going to have to hold down the Hangout for a bit. I will probably disappear.
Okay.
I need to go kill my other account. I think that's what's going on is I've still got ScreenFlow running over in my Don McAllister account. So I will be back shortly.
Okay. Back. So hope everyone is having a good beginning of the holiday season. Thanksgiving is over, at least for us in the U.S. Let's see how everyone's doing here. Haven't read that. No. It's been an exciting week here, getting ready for the holidays. Yes, I am, Sandy. I am babysitting. Allison is still there, but she's just being quiet. Very, very quiet. Can you still hear my fire? Rose, you came in late, so you didn't see my fire. See it okay there?
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. I got right back in.
I don't think you ever left.
Really?
I saw your face. Maybe if it was just a couple seconds, I may have missed it.
Wow, that's pretty weird. I should have I could hear you through the login process, but when I got all the way into the other account, it wasn't, we weren't there. So, okay. We have got to get started here. We are going to start with the NosillaCast intro is going to get laid down into place. There we go. And you're definitely going to need to mute. Maybe you want to turn the fire off? I don't know.
I could pause it. All right, fire paused.
Okay.
Dorothy.
How important is the SSD accelerator? It's really important. Answer Brett's question there, Steve. The SSD to the accelerator to the Drobo, we really noticed a difference. So
yeah, it's a big improvement.
Okay.
It's worth every dollar.
The only problem was it actually wore out. Right? We had to get a new one.
Not sure that was it or it just failed, but we did have to get a new one.
They said it was something else. Oh well, I got to get going.
All right,
okay.
I'm muting.
Mute. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, December 3rd, 2017, and this is show number 656. Well, this show is going to be super fun. 2 weeks ago, we started on the quest for chapter marks. Then last week, I did a follow-up on that topic. This week, I have 3 follow-ups, but because I love to tell you a good story, I'm going to tell it in 3 separate pieces. In between each chapter of the chapter story, you're going to hear a review from Bart of some fun applications he's really excited about. He recorded these before Thanksgiving, but I held them over till this week because there was so much content last week. Anyway, sit back and enjoy your chapter markers in this episode as you listen along. Still getting popping and cracking, but I don't think it's you.
Okay, I've been on mute, so it probably isn't
No,
me.
it's not you. No, I'm just like clicking and popping and... Not quite sure what that is. I've been having that problem over in the other account. That's what I thought, because, I don't know, it's a bunch of stuff. Are you talking, Steve?
Is it possible it's just to your headphones and not on the recording? Because I'm not hearing the
Possible.
cracks.
Let me see. Asked for chapter marks. Then last week is before Thanksgiving. Yeah, we might be okay. We'll see. Okay. So, I think I'll do a chapter marker.
Chapter marker, yes. We got to remember those.
Yep. Okay, here we go. Start. This week's Chit Chat Across the Pond was so much fun. I had Kaylee from Japan of the Zetai Geek Dayo podcast on the show. She's actually a Nosilla castaway. She's a girl geek through and through. I knew that the only problem I'd have interviewing her would be to narrow down what subject we covered. And the problem is she loves all geek things, from iPhones and iPads to JavaScript to home automation, and even talking about cell phone plans. Anyway, the interview is in Chit Chat Across the Pond in the light feed and in the full feed in your podcatcher of choice. It's just a complete blast. I promise you will enjoy it. Okay, I see the word. Can you fix talking? Boy, am I even? It says even to talking in the show. Actually, should it be me or you correcting stuff?
It's up to you. Whatever's easiest for you.
I tell you what, I'm going to do it. Boy, you're not hearing that.
No, I'm not. Now, someone who Dan thought he heard something, but maybe not.
Even, yeah. I'm hearing it constantly.
Is it very predominant? Because
pronounced, you mean? Yeah, I'm hearing it a lot. It's going.
No, I don't hear that.
Audio sounds good on the Hangout. Thought I was here on the stream too, but maybe not. Oh, probably should have stopped there. I just turned again.
I heard that.
Okay, that was it.
That's what are you doing when that happens?
Playing back now. I was doing nothing.
Okay.
I thought I was here on the stream too, but maybe not. Oh, probably should. Yep. It's just a complete blast. I promise you will enjoy it. Chapter markers.
Chapter marker.
Blah, 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 /1 in the stream is the fishes with which Dorothy was sleeping in the stream. Okay. Okay, it said marker 4, but we're... Well, I don't want that. Why isn't it doing a chapter mark? Oh, come on. Ugh. It wrote chapter 4. And option H. I don't want to do that. Okay, something's screwing up with chapters. Delete marker. Okay, let me try that. Ah. Okay, I want to be right there. Command Shift Enter. There we go. Now let me do it. So next is PSA. And we need a file for this. Ah, so I meant Apple. What was it called? Sorry, I got to find the file. I had a lot of pictures this week. Oh, you're storing in the wrong place too. I'll fix it later. Oh, it's on the desktop. That's where it is. Nope, there it is. Okay. All right. Everybody's being quiet.
Dorothy thinks we're listening to the sausage machine grinding away.
Probably. Okay, here we go. Come on. Oh, now I have to click in a certain place to record. Normally it just records. Okay, here we go. Yesterday afternoon, our caller ID showed a call from Apple. We have the NomoRobo service on our phone line, and before we could even answer, NomoRobo had stopped the call, as it does with known scammer phone numbers. Steve Googled the number, and it said it was our local Apple store. We figured NomoRobo had made a mistake. You know, I do enough business with that store that I figured they probably got me on speed dial, right? Well, I called the store directly, and I got a very interesting message when I made the call. I want you guys to listen to it. It's really weird. Message when I made the call. I want you guys to listen to it.
Thanks for calling Apple Manhattan Village. Apple is aware that some customers are receiving unsolicited calls claiming to be from this Apple store. If you receive an unsolicited call, you should not provide any information to the callers. For more information on cybercrime and ways to protect your computer, visit www.fbi.gov/investigate/cyber. Also, if you feel you have been a victim of fraud, please contact your local police. If you would like help changing your Apple ID password, please visit support.apple.com.
Let's see, I think I need to... There we go. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, well, I like the fact that NomoRobo caught it, even though it was a legitimate Apple store phone number.
Yeah.
So that means the users are good at flagging robocalls they're getting.
Yeah, that was crazy. I'm you know what a problem I have is when I switch editors, when I switch back and forth between using ScreenFlow and using Hindenburg, the keystrokes are different. There we go. I think that's better. Plus, you will enjoy it. Yesterday afternoon. Okay, there we go. All right. Come on. Okay, I don't want that marker there. How do I delete that marker? Delete marker. There we go. All right, and we want to be on this row. Here we go. I know I'm being clumsy. Sorry. Isn't that absolutely crazy? These spoofers are getting really creative. I'm sure they see people who talk to Apple as maybe a really lucrative business segment. I don't know how to tell you to beware of this, but I thought you'd be really interested in what we found out. All right. Enter. By the way, you were not muted.
Yeah, I just realized that I am now. I mean, not now, but I had to unmute to say that. Okay, muting.
Okay, good. I'm going to do a lot of this from, this one's going to be a complete wing it. Let's see how I can do. Come on. That's going to be hard to get used to. I just click anywhere in the Hindenburg window and I can start recording, but now I have to click out of the chapter markers and into the audio part. That's why I keep going, what am I doing? Okay, here we go. Well, Steve is really in love with his iPhone 10, but there's one thing that really bothers him, and it's the fact that we can't have both of our faces in both of our phones. Well, for Face ID, that is. So he took it into his own hands to call. I don't like how I did that. I'll start over. Okay. Steve really loves his new iPhone 10, but there's one thing that he doesn't like, and that's that we can't both have both of our faces in each other's phones for Face ID. So he decided to write to Craig Federighi about it. He explained to Craig that for convenience, it's really handy to have each other's faces in there. He trusts me implicitly, he says, and I trust him, obviously. And he explained that there were times like when he's driving and his phone is doing navigation, but he needs me to access his phone. So he wrote to Craig and asked him, please, can we have this? And I put his full letter in the show notes, by the way, but he ended it with, help me, Craig, you're my only hope. Anyway, the great thing is that Craig wrote back. Here's what he wrote. Hi, Steve, parentheses, and Allison. Thanks for the note. Currently, we're focusing Face ID on single user authentication. Even Touch ID's multi-finger support was really intended to enable a single iPhone user to unlock the device with a finger and thumb on both hands, not to enable multi-user authentication. We'll certainly keep your feedback in mind as we consider our plans to evolve Face ID in the future. Thanks, Craig. Well, that was pretty cool to get that answer. And it was good to get the answer to know, don't hold your breath on this is basically what Craig was saying. But what happened next was amazing. Steve took the letter from Craig and his original letter, and he posted a screenshot into Reddit. Mac Rumors found that letter. It did very well in Reddit. Steve has a lot of karma on Reddit, and it made Mac Rumors. They put it on there. And what I really liked about Mac Rumors was they wrote to Steve directly and asked him to send the headers of the email to them to prove the authenticity of the letter from Craig. Now, I was impressed by that to start with, but I was even more impressed when a whole bunch of other channels picked it up. 9to5Mac, Cult of Mac, BGR, iPhone Firmware, iPhone Hacks, Ivanet, and even somebody on YouTube posted about it. But none of those people ever asked Steve to prove the authenticity. So it really does tell you that a lot of these organizations are just going, hey, what did they write? Okay, we'll regurgitate what they wrote. But anyway, it was a pretty good, cool day for the Sheridan household, and for Steve to have gotten that answer from Craig was really cool. And like I said, we aren't holding our breath for Face ID to have two faces anytime soon.
By the way, chapter mark.
Thank you.
The actual line was, help me, Craig Federighi, you're my only hope.
Yeah, I saw that. You want me to re-record it?
No, let it go. Really the full name should be said.
So you do want me to go back and re-record it?
No, I mean for the chat room. I want them to know how the letter actually read. I did post.
Oh, because it's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Correct.
Yeah.
If they said help me Obi, you're my only hope. Maybe help me Craig would have been good, but
I can go re-record it.
Nah.
Okay.
Not important enough. You got a lot on your plate.
I do. I got a little bit. Okay. And I was winging it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this is going to be.
So, Kevin, you should know that John has noticed the commands it. I guess you know that, right? That's right. It's our special language that we have.
Now I want to re-record it, Steve.
You don't have to.
No, I don't.
It doesn't bother me that much.
Maybe I might be able to just do that one piece if I can find it. And that there were times like when he's driving and his phone is doing navigation. Letter in the show notes, by the way, but he ended it with, "Help me, Craig. You're my only hope." Okay. So if I went right there. Using two editors that are almost identical makes life hard. But he ended it with, here we go. I found it. "Help me, Craig. You're my only." Okay, so I'm going to re-record. How do I do that? I'll put it down here. Try on this track. It's going to be hard to do because I'm going to hear my own voice. Oh, I could mute myself. Okay, here we go. "Help me, Craig." Recorded over it. Said to go on this. There you go. "Help me." I told it to. It's doing it on the wrong track. Oh, it's not armed. That's why. Okay, here we go. "Help me, Craig Federighi." "Help me, Craig Federighi. You're my only hope." Okay, so now I'm going to move that. Oh, this is so worth it. You can talk, Steve.
I was on mute.
Split, and I'm going to split this here. And I'm going to split this one here. Let's see, I'll split that there. I don't know how to split. What's the keystroke for split? No, there isn't one. Okay. And then we're going to have to take this.
Oh, so one other thing I mentioned in the chat room, Craig took 7 minutes to respond to my email.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm surmising he's one of those zero inbox guys.
Yeah, really. Okay, why is that not going up in this track? I want it to go up here. Okay. Oh, there we go. No, it won't let me paste it. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to leave it on a different track. I don't care. Let me split that. This is a lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
I'm never agreeing to do this again. You didn't make me, though. Okay, so let me see how this sounds now. Ended it with, "Help me, Craig Federighi. You're my only hope. You're my only hope." But I probably don't need that twice. I can't move it from one track to another. Okay, here we go. It with, "Help me, Craig Federighi. You're my only hope." Anyway, the okay, now with, "Help me, Craig Federighi. You're my only hope." Anyway, the great thing is that Craig wrote back. Okay, here's
close enough.
That is. So that.
Okay. I'm not sure I heard the beginning leading up to the. Is it smooth in the beginning, the cut from the front side?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And I lost my chapter marker, so let me put that back in. And that's going to be Earl and okay. Now I can get to my fun. I'm going to get to where I know what I'm doing. Okay. And I did a chapter marker. Okay. Mute. You muted?
This is weird. I'm hitting the mute button. It goes mute and it comes out. Let me try it again.
Okay. Because I can hear you typing and stuff. Here we go. Well, oh, come on. Oh, I bet that's why. I bet you can only arm one channel. Here we go. We're entering chapter 3 of my. Okay. No. One more time. And it's because. There you go. Listen. Okay, here we go. Off the tracks again. Here we go. We're entering chapter 3 of my quest to provide chapter marks in the podcast. The original request was from Joe LaGreca, but since I've started talking about it on the show, people have been coming out of the woodwork saying, yes, please do it. I've always wanted chapter marks. Well, I've been working my little fingers and brain to the bone on this, and I've figured out a really geeky solution. But first, let's walk through what doesn't work. To review, I record the show in Hindenburg Journalist. I stop recording when I end each topic anyway, so it's super easy to hit Command, Control, Enter, Command, Shift, Enter, anyway, and add a chapter and then type in the subject. The problem is that Hindenburg isn't embedding those chapters on export. The dev and I have gone back and forth a few times, and they seem to be saying that the chapter markers should be maintained, but I don't think they're in the file. Last week, I took my exported AIFF, an uncompressed file, and I imported it into the Auphonic web service online. This subscription service levels the audio, raises or lowers the levels to the loudness standards, transcodes the file to an MP3, and embeds the ID3 tags that tell your podcatcher everything about the show. I broke down and got the subscription when I realized how many people want the chapters and how much more automated it would be on my end, because all of that was like 3 different applications and a whole bunch of manual steps before. Well, in theory, Auphonic is supposed to maintain the chapters, but since they weren't embedded in the file as I thought they were, or I don't know for sure. Anyway, the show last week when first posted did not have chapters. After production, I was messing around in the Auphonic online tool, and I noticed that you can edit a production job even after the file has been produced. In that editor, I found where I could type in the chapter markers manually. I entered the chapter markers, had it embed them in the MP3, and download it again. I pushed that new version of the MP3 up to my audio hosting service, Libsyn. Anyone whose podcatcher pulled the file a few hours after the original posting did get chapters. Michael from Germany confirmed this with his delight. Now, I love you guys, but I'm not typing the chapters in twice every week. There had to be a better way. Right next to where I could type the chapters in by hand was an option to upload a text file. Off to Hindenburg to figure out how to export the chapters. In the tool, there's a place to upload a text file of the chapters. Not as streamlined as having them embedded in the file from Hindenburg, but still better than typing twice, right? In Hindenburg, the chapters interface can be a hovering window, or if you drag it around, it can be across the top or the side of the recording window. It's kind of a delightful little interface. But for the life of me, I could not figure out how to export it as a text file. I right-clicked my little fingers to the bone on the text area of the chapters, and all it would offer me was the option to export the audio of the chapter on which I was right-clicking. I didn't want to break out all these separate chapters. I just wanted the text file. Back to writing to the dev. I should mention that the dev is super responsive, and I think it actually might be a guy named Hindi, which would explain why the name of his tool is Hindenburg. Doesn't really, most people wouldn't think to name something after something that blew up. But anyway, Hindi is super responsive, but his help files could actually use some work. For example, how to export chapters isn't covered at all. Anyway, Hindi, I'll call the dev that for simplicity, wrote back and included a screenshot of how to do the export. The chapter window has a gray bar right above the top chapter, and you're supposed to right-click on that area, and then you're given the options to copy text or export as a text file. While I was delighted to know this party trick, I sure would have preferred maybe file export to include the chapters option, or maybe something in the documentation about it. All right, I was really excited though, because now I can export that text file. I exported my chapters as a text file. I went back to Auphonic to import the file. Sadly, the website for Auphonic rejected the file, saying it wasn't in the right format. I dug around quite a bit to figure out what was wrong, but I cracked the code on what it didn't like. My file had 8 lines in it. The first 7 were chapter markers of less than 1 hour, and the last was greater than 1 hour. The less than great hour timestamps had the format of 2 digits for minutes, 2 for seconds, and then 3 digits for milliseconds. The last timestamp was at just over an hour, so it had 1 digital hour followed by the same 2 digits for minutes, 1 digit hour, followed by the same 2 digits for minutes, 2 digits for seconds, and 3 digits for milliseconds. Turns out that Auphonic wants 2 digits for hours, not 1, no matter whether it's above or below 1 hour. So all 8 lines fail the test. I wrote back to Hindi, and he explained that they had made the format to match another tool's needs, but he didn't see any reason that the other tool couldn't accept 2-digit hours on every line, and said it should be pretty easy for him to fix it for me. This is not the first time Hindi has fixed something at my request. But in the meantime, while I await an indeterminate amount of time for Hindi to change the format, I got the idea that maybe I could fix the file myself with some programming. Do you remember my blog post a while ago? I want to automate all of the things. I wrote it after going to Command D. I was very inspired by Sal Segoyan and Ray Robertson, amongst others. This task didn't seem all that hard. So I hit the Googles looking for ideas, and it looked like Perl might be the right language for editing text files. I also knew from all our time in programming by stealth that regular expressions, also known as regex, were a way to search for a pattern in a file. Now, let the record show, I have never written nor even intentionally viewed a single line of Perl. Let the record also show that while Bart did teach us about regex and programming by stealth, I'd never written any of them on my own. Between Bart, who loves Perl and regex, Dorothy, who loves Perl and hates regex, and Helma, who loves regex but has never used Perl, I figured any one of them could just write this out for me in a hot minute and I'd be done. That's not the way we do things around here. I wanted to do it myself. So armed with no knowledge other than the right tools to use, I embarked on writing it all by myself. My goal was to have an automator service where I could simply right-click on a file and tell it to fix that file for me. Here's a spoiler. I succeeded. One of the biggest things I learned at Command D, especially from Ray Robertson, was that most people write programs today by copying things they find that other people have written and then modifying them to meet their own needs. Before Command D, this sounded like cheating, but Ray gave me the freedom to do this with my head held high. Well, step one was to get the regex correct to make sure I searched for the right thing in the file. I needed to separately find the lines that had no hours at all and add 00 colon at the front, and then find the lines that had a single digit hour and no leading zero and just add that zero in. Well, regex works by a series of special characters to match patterns in the text you're querying. In this example, I started by trying to match every instance where there are 2 digits followed by a colon, followed by 2 digits, followed by a period, followed by a period. I got to fix that. The reason I said it twice is because it was in there twice. We'll break here. Followed by, again. If you didn't find that I said followed by a period twice. Let's see. There we go. Followed by a colon, followed by 2 digits. Well, regex works by a series of special characters to match patterns in the text you're querying. In this example, I started by trying to match every instance where there were 2 digits, followed by a colon, followed by 2 digits, followed by a period. To match 3 numerical digits, you type a / followed by D for numerical digit, and then the number of digits you're looking for inside of squirrely brackets. So to match the 3-digit milliseconds, you type / 3 squirrely bracket. I'm sorry, let me say that again. / D squirrely brackets 3. So you're looking for 3 digits. To find 2-digit minutes and seconds, you'd match with / D squirrely bracket 2. Later, when I'm looking for the single-digit hours, it turns out you could write / D squirrely bracket 1, but the character D alone means only 1 digit, so adding the squirrely bracket 1 is redundant and unnecessary. To find a special character, you just type the / followed by the specific character. So to match the colon, I can type / colon. And likewise, the period would be / period to find that match. To match the pattern of minute, second, and milliseconds separated by colors, I put the answer in the show notes, but I'm not going to read it out loud because it's even more confusing than what I've just said. Anyway, when you build it up slowly like I just told you, it's pretty easy to follow, right? But even in a trivially easy example like this, at first glance, when you look at it, that code looks like one of my cats just walked all over my keyboard. Well, I use a couple of swell tools called expressions and patterns that I'll tell you about later that help me get my regex working. Reading out loud how regex works is almost as bad as reading the cat on a keyboard in the show notes, so I'm not going to read any more to you. I had great fun working on getting regex working properly. It took me around 3 or 4 hours to write 2 lines of code, but it was my code when I was done. But when I tried to apply my regex in a Perl script to the real text file from Hindenburg, it would only fix the first line of the file. All of my Google searching said, use global, which I was already using. I fought with this for another full day, but I could not figure out what was wrong with my code. Now, I really, truly did not want to tell my tutors about my project. I was going to surprise them with my amazing success, but in a weak moment, I broke down and I told Helma what I was doing, and she asked for a copy of my script and the text file. I got to tell you, I'm so glad I sent it to her because there was nothing at all wrong with my code. There was a problem in the text file itself that I could fix with my code. She explained to me that the text file exported from Hindenburg did not have Unix line feeds at the end of each line. Instead, it had legacy macOS carriage returns. She discovered this by opening the file in BBEdit and looking at the bottom of the window. First of all, I didn't even know that was a thing. And second of all, I never would have thought to look at that teeny little indicator in BBEdit, even if I had opened the file in that particular editor. Now, I don't feel it was cheating in my quest to do this all on my own, but I sure was grateful that she figured out that it was a problem in the file. I did not let Helma tell me how to fix the problem. Back to the Googles, and I found another Perl script that would swap the legacy macOS carriage returns for the Unix line feeds. And it even worked. So now I had 3 lines of code that when typed into the terminal would fix the line feeds, then add the leading zeros for hours on the lines without hours, and finally adding the single leading zero to the lines that do have hours if necessary. I then moved over to Automator and I got to work putting this into a service. In the spirit of stealing code whenever possible and modifying it to your needs, I stole from myself. Remember the Drop Shadow app I wrote? That had a bash shell script inside it. I popped that Automator workflow open and I stole shamelessly things like how to tell the shell I wanted to use bash, how to find the directory of the selected file, and how to switch to it, and even how to assign some variables in Automator and then use them inside the script. Of all the things I did in this whole exercise, the Automator piece was by far the easiest and only took a few iterations until I got it all working. Now, using the knowledge I've gained from Bart, Helma, Dorothy, and Ray, I have an Automator service that allows me to right-click on the chapter's text file and convert it to the correct format. You cannot imagine how puffed out my chest has been ever since I got this finished. Proud of my little self does not even begin to describe it. And I think that's what Bart's goal was in doing Taming the Terminal and Programming by Stealth. It was to give us the power to create, and I can't thank him enough for this. If you're curious to see my code, I dropped it in at the end of the blog post on this topic. I'm sure it's not the most efficient way to do it, and it may even have some edge case failures that I haven't thought about, but you know what? It's all mine, and I'm very proud of my baby. If with any luck, this week's show will have chapter markers.
Woo! That was a long one.
Yeah, and there's 2 more coming.
So a little side note here. The conversation went from bacon and sausage quickly to squirrel.
Uh-oh.
And someone mentioned, Brett said, I hear squirrel is high in cholesterol. I said, I heard that recently. And
I know where it is.
But the funny thing is, I don't remember where I heard it from.
I can tell you where it is. It's in Chevy Chase's Christmas Vacations.
It is.
Because the wife says, or one of them says, does he eat squirrel? And he said, Eddie's wife says, no, not since he found out it was high in cholesterol.
Yeah, but I don't remember it was from a movie. I thought it was like from something I had actually heard that was real. Okay. I think chat room is getting a little bit cool. So time for a warm respite. Okay. Is that warming you up, guys? All right, good. Just tell me when you get cold.
That's awesome. All right. No, that was good timing. You can keep screwing around. I'm adding Bart in next. So that isn't going to be the only joke from that movie tonight. I have a Chevy Chase joke, Chevy Chase's Christmas Vacation joke in today's show.
All right, a little Easter egg.
Markers.
Hello there, fellow NosillaCast castaways. This is Bart here with...
We'll have chapter markers.
Wait.
Hello there.
Shh. I'm listening to the gap. This week's show will have chapter markers.
Hello there, fellow
Okay, what? Okay, now you're muted.
Are you moving to the next post, chapter marker?
Uh-huh. I'm not going to play this because I don't have time. This is Bart on Hazel and Yoink.
And you put the chapter. Okay, good.
I did. Chapter markers.
Hello there, fellow NosillaCast castaways. This is Bart here.
Baby. If with any luck, his audio is so clean. Mine does not sound clean to me tonight. Okay. Why are you not going to the end? All right. I will go to the end by hand. Oh, it is at the end. All right. All right. Here we go.
And until next time, happy computing.
Well, thank you so much for Bart with that. I love that you're getting into Hazel because Hazel is one of my favorite tools. Well, before we hear part 2, or maybe it's part 4 by now, of the chapter mark story, I want to take a moment to make a special thank you to all of you who help support the production of the NosillaCast and Chit Chat Across the Pond through Patreon. I'd like to also thank our 2 newest patrons of the arts. That's Chris B. and Tim G. Both of these fine gentlemen went to podfee.com/Patreon and simply signed up to have a small but recurring fee show the value they get out of these 2 podcasts. To quote Randy Quaid in Chevy Chase's Christmas Vacation, it's the gift that keeps on giving. But if you'd rather make a one-time contribution, you could do like Craig P. did this week and push the PayPal button under Support the Show. If you can't afford to support the show financially, please do not stretch yourself to do that. I'll quote Chris Ashley of the SMR podcast here instead. He always says, just grab a friend in a headlock and make them subscribe to the podcast. Okay, or maybe you should just gently, around the holiday table, make a gentle suggestion that people enjoy the show. In any case, thanks to all of you for listening each week. I don't feel like putting chapter markers in for commercials. I'm not going to do that.
Fruit of the Month Club.
Yep. Okay. See, it was.
Mm-hmm. Nice one. And Brett has the Bullwinkle mug, the clear glass mug from.
Well, Steve, you need to go down and get your that little metal box.
That's all right.
You've got the Bullwinkle thing, a Bullwinkle thing in there too.
I don't think so.
Yeah, there's something Bullwinkle in there. Fine, if you're not dedicated to the show.
There's something Bullwinkle in there. I could drop in.
Bullwinkle. I don't know what it is. Okay, just a quote there. Okay. Wow, still tonight.
Oh, there's a little jingle bell behind you.
No. Oh, there was. Hi, T-Dog. Okay. So next up, now I will do a chapter marker. And this one, are they chapter markers or chapter marks?
Well, the tools I deal with are called markers, but I haven't dealt with what Hindenburg you're using.
It doesn't matter. It's the concept of a chapter mark. Is it chapter marker or chapter mark?
I've used markers.
Okay.
And that's what they're called in Final Cut.
So I was calling them that, and then I thought maybe that was wrong, so I sort of started calling it chapter marks. Oh well, here we go. Cute. Well, I promised to tell you more about the 2 applications I use to help write my regex, and it's actually 2 applications and a website. By the way, regex is what the cool kids call regular expressions. Let's get back to the problem to be solved. If you have a text file where you want to change something that's repeated throughout the file, and you get this file repeatedly, no, don't wing it. Don't wing it, because that's not what it says. If you have a oh, what the heck? I promised to tell you about the 2 applications I use to help me write my regex. Actually, it's 3. By the way, regex is what the cool kids call regular expressions. Let's start state a problem to be solved first. If you have a text file where you want to change something that's repeated throughout the file, it's pretty easy to do a search change all. We do it all the time in text editors. But what if you have a text file that is repeatedly generated and always has that same thing wrong with it? Maybe it's a date in the wrong format, or maybe an online system that hasn't been updated with your new company name. Or what if instead of changing the text, you just need to know what the text actually says in the document? Let's say it's a date in a document. You want to write a script to change the name of the document to include the date. All of these examples are a great place to try out regex. So to refresh your memory, regex are a sequence of characters that define a search pattern. They use all kinds of crazy character combinations to help find a match. Like I said before, if you don't watch the pattern as it's created and explained, it really does look like a cat walked across the keyboard. My first reaction the first 12 times Bart showed regex to me was to assume it was some kind of witchcraft to be avoided at all costs. But I have to begrudgingly admit that I'm kind of warming to them. The hard part is learning the syntax. Using the Googles to figure out a pattern with regex is possible, but it's boring and error prone. I didn't like regex until I found two cool tools, actual applications, and a website to help me work them out. The first tool I used and found is called Expressions. It's a $3 app in the Mac App Store from Apptorium. Expressions is a multi-pane interface. In the top center, you start typing your regex. Below that, you paste in an example of the text you're trying to search. When you've created a regex that finds a match, the text below is highlighted, giving you real-time feedback on your success or failure. When you're learning regex, that real-time feedback is absolutely crucial. But how do you even know what to type for the regex? The right-hand side of Expressions displays the basic or advanced sequences of characters you can use to match text with regex. There are so many crazy sequences in regex. Trust me, you'll be glad there's a basic option in there. Well, here's a few examples of some very simple regex. Let's see. I'm missing exactly what oh, man. Hang on.
I think the colon should be a period. Well, no, there should be a period before matches any character.
Yeah, I think it got auto-corrected.
Yeah, it did. Which is, I can understand why it did.
Yeah.
You want me to put it in?
I'm trying to decide. Okay. You know what? Yeah. Okay. I'm sitting there going, well, here's a few examples. How did you know that?
Well, when I was editing it, I ran across that period and it didn't look right. And I'm thinking, oh, that is the...
Do you think maybe you changed it?
No, I left it because I finally figured it out, but I don't know how it got removed.
Huh. All right. Let's see. Here's a few examples of some very simple regex. Dot matches any character. The little hat or circumflex symbol, that means to search to the beginning of a line. Dollar means the end of a line. And like we talked about earlier, \D means any digit. Seems pretty simple, right? I can't even keep track of those 4 simple sequences without looking at the sidebar and Expressions. Well, the biggest value of Expressions for that steep $3 I put down is that you can save your expressions. As I was working on matching the time sequences in my chapter markers, I created several different options and I was able to keep them named in the left sidebar of Expressions. I thought I was done searching for the perfect regular Expressions tool, but just like the quest for the perfect text editor, one is never enough. Now, I know we already spent $3, but I'm going to convince you to spend a whole nother $2 to buy Patterns, the regex app. It's $2 in the App Store from Nikolai Krill. Nikolai wrote the fabulous Code Runner app that we've all been using over in Programming by Stealth. Well, I'd like to say I discovered this app, but it was actually Helma who turned me on to it. I have to admit that I really didn't grok why she thought it was so awesome until I really started to use it in anger. I got to tell you, I stole that phrase from Don McAllister. To use something in anger is a British phrase that means to use something for real, like in a production environment. All right, anyway, at its simplest, Patterns does pretty much what Expressions does. It has a top pane where you type in your expression and a bottom pane where you paste in the text you're trying to match. As you type in an expression, you get real-time feedback on whether you've successfully found a match. Now, at first, I didn't like it because it didn't contain the cheat sheet I depended on in Expressions. Then I noticed a button in the single window it has that says Reference Sheet. That button brings up a gray window with all the expressions and character classes and more. It's one of those windows I call a heads-up display window. I'm not sure if that's a standard term, but that's the kind of window that disappears when you click away. It doesn't isolate the basic characters from the more advanced expressions characters like expressions, but it's still pretty good. But I got to tell you, Patterns does so much more than expressions. Above the regex you're writing is a series of checkboxes. There's one that says ignore case, lazy, single line, multi-line, and free spacing. When Helma first showed me Patterns, she kept talking about the checkbox for multi-line. I had no idea what it was for, so I didn't pay any attention to her. However, when it came time to write my regex to match a series of timestamps in my chapter marks file, it was the key to my success. With my regexes written, it was only matching the first time it found a match. I was afraid I was going to have to write a loop to iterate through and find every line. Now, I'm not afraid of writing a loop, but remember, this is the first time I've ever written Perl, so it might have been a little bit tricky. However, when I tapped that multi-line checkbox, boom, all of the lines in my example text were matched. Now, the purpose of using regex is usually to change something after you find it. In patterns, there are two tabs: match, just for figuring out your regex, and replace to check your replacement syntax. I also paid no attention when Helma showed this to me. I really should have, because patterns has a crazy cool option I never realized was there. In my example, I've got the regex in a pane at the top. I put the replacement text in the next pane down. Below that, it shows me the text I'm searching on the left, and the right shows the results of the entire regex, including the replacements. With all of it working properly in there, I didn't know how to write that as one big fat regex because it's in 3 separate panes. Where does that replacement text go? Where does that multi-line flag go? I went to the web and I did a big old pile of searches to crack the code. See what I did there? Crack the code. Anyway, I later discovered the options in the upper right that are absolutely magical. There's a pull down for the language you're going to use and a button that says copy code. I set the language to Perl, I hit copy code, and then I pasted it, and the entire syntax was completely written for me. It takes your regex, it takes your replacement text, and it takes all your flags, and it shoves it in one giant cat walking on a keyboard kind of a line. I personally think patterns is way underpriced at $2. I kept hoping as I was writing it up that it was maybe a Black Friday sale or something, but it's still only $2. Crazy inexpensive for something so capable. I want to give one more tip for writing regex. It's a site called regex101.com. As I was building up this script, I was borrowing a lot of information from other sources, and I didn't always know what it meant. In Regex 101, not only does it check your regex syntax to see if it finds matches, like expressions and patterns, it also explains what you've written. For example, if you write that little hat symbol in the right sidebar, it will write asserts position at start of a line. There's also a little question mark that you can hover over to reveal even more information. The hat explanation says lines are delimited by \n. Now, remember the story about how Helma figured out the chapter file export from Hindenburg didn't have the proper Unix line feeds at the end, instead had legacy macOS carriage returns? Well, the fix in regex was to swap out \r for \n. If I'd really understood what Regex 101 was telling me, maybe I would have thought to go check that file. In the same bar where you enter your regex, way over on the right-hand side is a / and a little flag. When I was halfway through figuring out my regex, I noticed that it said /G and then the flag. I tapped on it and I noticed the second option was multi-line, and it had the explanation hat and $ match start and end of line. Now, I know I said that I figured out how to use multi-line using patterns from Helma, but when I thought back on it, I think I actually found the flag thing in Regex 101, and then I looked for it over in patterns. Regex 101 has a quick reference section where you can search for the secret regex code you desire, or you can scroll through all tokens, common tokens, and general tokens, and more. I have to tell you, Regex 101 is a pretty swell tool too. And it doesn't cost anything at all. So if you've never needed to do an efficient search and replace repeatedly on text files, none of these tools will be for you. But if you've been curious or even intimidated by regex, then I hope I've given you some tools that will help you enjoy figuring them out. Now I'm excited that Bart and I have a little project we're working on with my backups on my web server that is just crying out for some regex to be written. He wanted to write it for me, and I'm not going to let him. I'm going to do it myself.
Guess who just joined us in the chat room?
Let me see. Who?
Kaylee.
Kaylee Dayo. I did talk about you already. So Kaylee was here a couple weeks ago, and now she's on the show. She's fantastic. She's awesome sauce.
You were at the beginning, Kaylee, so.
Yep. I gushed about how much fun we had. We got on the phone at 2:30 my time, and we had to force ourselves to hang up at 5. It was 2.5 hours. The show's only like an hour and 15 minutes, but we goofed around. Oh, and Dorothy's in here. Matt Lurker is in here, Kaylee. And I was telling Dorothy on when we on the elliptical this morning about your game show stuff that you write in JavaScript and HTML and CSS. So she heard all about it. Oh yeah, we goofed around a lot. All right, so that one's done. Oh, I should send that to blog because we made that one very important change.
You should plug Kaylee's podcast. I know you did in Chit Chat, but for the chat room.
Yeah. Can you find the URL? It's in.
Yes, I will do that.
I don't think I
think you did in Chit Chat, but I'll let me dig it up.
Okay, we have another Bart. Oh, this isn't going too long. I thought this was going to go way too long because the last piece isn't too bad. And next up is some Bart. So I ended it with, I think Kaylee should do us a monthly segment on tech in Japan. Oh, there she goes. She put it up there, Steve.
Platypuspodcast.com. You're clicking a lot.
What's that?
You're clicking a lot.
I heard that. I think it has to do with when I'm actually making mouse clicks. I swear, when I was doing it in...
we'll do a few mouse clicks. You mean
like or switching windows or something?
Okay.
Not every time, though. All right, let me check this. That looks too close to that. It's going to be not that far. I'm going to do it myself.
Hello there, NosillaCast.
I'm going to do it myself.
Hello there, NosillaCastaways.
Does he have the most beautiful voice or what?
Yes.
Yes. All right.
Until next time, happy computing.
Let's see, preview. Okay, so what do I got next?
Wait, what was that segment?
It's a Bart on Card Hop.
Oh, I didn't even hear.
I didn't play it.
But did you say anything?
Nope.
Did you intro it?
Nope. I introed it at the beginning.
Okay.
I'll say something now. Oh, we got to put... We'll put a chapter marker here. Chapter mark. So should I change this to chapter markers?
But it appears all over the blog post. You'd have to do a global search and replace. And you know what that can lead to.
I could use regex to do it.
Good luck.
Is that a challenge? All right. Here we go.
Next time, happy computing.
Well, I had to go right out and buy Card Hop as soon as I listened to his review. So thank you for that, Bart. You cost me money. Well, if you've been playing along with this home game throughout this episode, we've been on a quest to figure out how to give you guys chapter markers in the NosillaCast in a way that wasn't a giant pain for me. While it's easy to put them in as I record using Hindenburg Journalist, it's been a bit of a struggle to keep them in the file by the time I send it to you. I want to back up a little bit, and this could be a little bit repetitive, but I think I've mixed it up enough that I need to give you the final piece. I export from Hindenburg as an AIFF, which is an uncompressed format. I want it uncompressed because I process the audio after export using Auphonic to make the levels consistent throughout the recording and to raise the volume to industry loudness standards. If I did all of that on a compressed MP3, the audio would be compressed twice and wouldn't sound nearly as good. The problem that is that it appeared that the chapter marks aren't actually exported with the AIF. Okay. Stumbled too many times in a row. The problem is, if I did all of, and actually I'm going to move this chapter marker to right here where I actually, well, if you've been playing, there we go. Okay. I haven't been paying any attention to the chat room. I hope you're taking care of them.
Kevin has abandoned us.
What?
No, he has to go.
Fine. The problem I was having is it appeared that the chapter markers aren't actually exported with the AIFF. Bart and I tested the file on a whole host of different apps, and we confirmed that we could not find the chapter marks. The dev of Hindenburg suggested I try Wave, another uncompressed format, but it also failed to retain the chapters on export. Then I tried exporting the text file and had the great fun of writing all that Perl code and regex, bash scripts, and automator actions to fix the formatting of the chapter marks text file. I knew that as of this week's show, I'd be able to import the AIFF and a perfectly formatted text file into Auphonic, and I would be able to have it work. That was on Wednesday. On Thursday, I received an email from Michael in Germany. I'm not going to paraphrase what he wrote. Here are his own words. Allison, I think the problem is the AIFF file format that you use. While AFF files, just like MP3, can contain ID3v2 tags, I think the chapter marks extension. Okay, I want to hear if I hear that played back. I think the chapter mark. I want to hear. I think the chapter marks. Yep.
That was two of them, and you were just talking. There was no mouse click, no keypad entry.
I think the chapter marks extension is simply not supported. I thought I'd give it a try myself. I produced 10 seconds of crappy audio with 2 chapter marks in Hindenburg. I opened the file in a text editor, and I could see that Hindenburg had at least tried to add the chapter marks. The text of both marks was visible at the end of the file, but no podcatcher or audio software did see the marks. Fission from Rogue Amoeba even refused to open the file and said it was corrupt. I don't know why the developer of Hindenburg suggested Wave, because from all I know, Wave files can't contain tags and thus no chapter marks. Correct me if I'm wrong. Nonetheless, Hindenburg tried to add chapter marks to the file, which I could see with the help of the text editor, but to no surprise, none of my software could read them. But the solution is very simple. I tried it. Just select Apple Lossless as audio format while exporting in Hindenburg. Upload this file to Auphonic, choose MP3 as output format, start processing, and voila! An MP3 with chapter marks is produced. Don't worry if you don't see them in your audio editor. Most editors ignore them. But in Fission, they are visible. And, most important, Downcast, my podcatcher of choice, sees them. By the way, at least in the Mac version of Downcast, you can simply drag and drop audio files into the program and play them. You don't need to upload them to a server just to test them. I hope this works for you too, Michael from Germany. Well, guess what? He solved all of it. I'd never thought of using Apple Lossless. I didn't even notice it was an option in Hindenburg. I looked up Apple Lossless to learn a little bit more, and in the Wikipedia article, it explains that it uses the same .m4a container as AAC, but it's a lossless format. The article also included a very interesting statement. It said, it is a lossless format which allows the addition of metadata, unlike Wave and AIFF or other PCM-type formats, where metadata is usually ignored. So even if the data about chapters was successfully embedded by the Hindenburg dev, it would be ignored. So that explains everything. It is confusing that the Apple Lossless and AAC codecs can both use the .m4a container, but that's the nature of codecs and containers. If you ever want to descend into madness, look up audio codec standards and start reading. I did that once. By the way, the Apple Lossless codec, also known as ALAC, A-L-A-C, was originally proprietary when they came out with it in 2004, but in 2011, Apple open sourced it and made it royalty-free. I am so stoked that Michael already had Hindenburg, so he's able to test this all out for me. Like me, he found it on a crazy low price sale a little while ago. It is curious that the dev never told me to try Apple Lossless, but if he had, I would never have had all that fun with Perl and regex. I wanted to prove out Michael's process. I exported an ALAC file from Hindenburg, then I opened it in Rogue Amoeba's Fission, and the file did have the chapter markers. For grins and giggles, I tried running the ALAC file through the desktop version of Auphonic just in case the chapters would survive, but as expected, they were unfortunately stripped out. I then pushed my shiny new test ALAC file to the online version of Auphonic, and sure enough, when it was done processing, it exported an MP3 with my chapter markers intact. Amazing. There was one more great tidbit inside Michael's note, and it was about using Downcast on the Mac. I use Downcast as my video podcatcher of choice on the iPad, and I also have it as a backup audio podcatcher on my iPhone, but I didn't even know there was a Mac version. I am learning so much this week. Well, Downcast for Mac was only $5, so I sprung for it. Sure enough, I was able to drag and drop the final MP3 from Auphonic onto the player, and it imported and showed me the chapters. Now, I did have to get some extra guidance from Michael on how to actually see the chapter descriptions, but he pointed to the little tiny bookmark icon, and there were my carefully crafted chapters. Downcast for Mac is not nearly as polished looking as the iOS app, but it might just be because it doesn't appear to have a dark mode. It supports iCloud syncing, which is cool. And, I don't ever listen to podcasts on my Mac because my brain can only do one thing at a time. And if I'm on my Mac, I'm usually reading, writing, recording, or editing. But as a diagnostic tool for me, this is so awesome. I always check iTunes to see if the podcast feed worked properly before I even tell people about it. I think from now on, I'm just going to check it in Downcast instead. But I have to say, that was pretty much the last thing I used iTunes for, so maybe I should pour a little bit out in honor of an app that had a huge impact on getting podcasting on the map. I know it's good sport to mock iTunes, but without its impact on this technology, you probably wouldn't be listening to me today. My plan for this week's show is to use my old AIFF process just this one last time so I can exercise my fancy new script. I'm really glad Michael didn't tell me how to skip all this nonsense until after my script was working, because I know I never would have finished it. I had so much fun doing that work, and I hardened some skills that just weren't quite gelled yet before now. But next week and going forward, I'll be using Apple Lossless and skip right to the finish line. I can't thank Michael enough for his assistance in his testing, his screenshots, and bringing chapters to the NosillaCast.
Wow. Marathon session. People are staying overtime.
Are they?
Now, Kaylee has an interesting comment you might want to read.
What's that?
The last one in the chat room.
Save. First, some of the folks in the Overcast Slack, Adobe Audition can export a WAV file with chapters, but Audacity apparently doesn't work. So seems like Adobe may be doing something special. Well, the thing is, the chapter markers are in there. If that's what Michael said. If you open the, make a tiny little audio file, well, he did this and I can do it too. You can open it in a text editor, the audio file in a text editor, and you can see the chapter markers. They're in there. It's just nothing recognizes them. And Fission, like he said, says it's corrupted. So, yeah. I don't think... There, I just hit Command W and heard the noise.
Yeah, I did too.
Let me try this. Didn't hear it the second time, though.
Oh, heard it there.
That's weird. Okay. I think I'm done. Do I have to do outro? Do I have to mark the outro? Stop it. I wasn't doing anything.
Just for those who are getting a little cool. There you go.
Your phone's going to be out of battery.
No, I've been pausing it. I don't want the fire to burn out.
Oh, okay. All right. There you go. All right. We're closing in on the 54 minutes for a solo show. Well, Bart helped. Stop cracking. I hear you. All right, here we go. Well, after that marathon session, it's going to have to wind us up for this week. Do not forget to send in your dumb questions, comments, and suggestions by emailing me at allison@podfeed.com. You can follow me on Twitter @podfeed. Remember, everything good starts with podfeed.com. We've got podfeed.com/Patreon, podfeed.com/Facebook, podfeed.com/Google+, podfeed.com/Amazon. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show, head on over to podfeed.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed.
It's a wrap.
It is a wrap. And I heard...
Chapter marker.
You want me to put one at the end?
Yeah, in case people want to go right to the end of the
Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to put one at the end. Come here. I'm going to do it. How about fini?
Yes. People will probably figure that one out.
You know what else? In what do you call in Downcast on the Mac, you can, and apparently this is getting embedded in the file. It also tells you how long each segment is.
Oh, between chapter marks. Oh, by the way, the guy, I forget his name already, who wrote in to you, Dan? Michael from Germany. He also used the word chapter marks. So maybe Hindenburg calls them marks and not markers.
Oh.
And that's why you're getting going back and forth.
I wonder. You see.
That's just a detail. We don't have to resolve that now.
No, they call them chapters.
That's
Well, that solves it.
great. Oh wait,
Right.
Kaylee says it does.
It does what?
Well, I'm inferring.
Overcast shows it. Yeah. Oh, he's saying Overcast shows it too.
Okay.
And that's another NosillaCast in the mason jar. I like it. And enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. And a little scratch at the end. The only thing different is I think I have my audio input levels high. Ah, that's interesting.
What?
Huh.
What?
I selected a section and I hit Command left arrow and all of a sudden it made a split. That's interesting. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing. All right. I think we are good. So I'm going to export as an AIFF one last time. And that was a nice little click. You hear that?
Yep.
And I'm going to put this in the right place. And after this, it's a wrap. Okay, it is 6:10. I should probably let the crowd go. And oh, by the way, I didn't tell everybody. I am drinking a Fathom from Ballast Point, and Steve actually put it in a Fathom glass. It's cheating though, because that's a different Fathom that Ballast Point used to make. This is a different beer.
They changed the recipe, so to speak.
Sandy, your joint splits. Okay, Steve. I'll let you end up the show. Say goodbye, Steve.
Stay warm, everybody. Have a nice week.
Wait, that looks really pathetic. Hold it up straight. It was like all bent, nasty looking.
Bent and nasty? How's that? Is that better?
No, you're pointing it down. Point up.
Well, I get a reflection. I'm trying to
I
get the
see.
reflection off.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, Rose.